In Georgia, less than 24 hours ago, the DNC is suing, and the Democratic Party of Georgia, they're suing the Georgia State Election Board because basically this election board has implemented a bunch of rules that allow for county officials who, the Republicans have been working to stack these election offices, particularly in red states, with loyalists. It empowers county officials who want to refuse to certify the election results to continue to cause delays. Some of this has taken effect in Arizona here, but in Georgia, this is acute because Trump is currently in the middle of a RICO case in this state, being indicted for calling the Secretary of State Raffensperger and saying, I just need to find this amount of votes. I need to find these votes so he could win the state, because he lost in 2020 by around 10,000 votes. And so even with now he's by the way, he's been in a 4-year-long feud with Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, from this period. Last week, he tweeted something like, I love Brian Kemp. Might have something to do with this, because Kemp is also apparently saying, I'll hear the challenges to these rules. It'd be interesting to see how he rules. I'm sure he'll probably do it for Trump in the end, because partisanship wins at the end of the day. But they do,
Kemp.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion. I think because of how much he was put through by what happened in 2020.
And a lot of it's circumstantial. Like if Trump looks like a loser and it looks like his heart's barely in it, why would any Republican go above and beyond to help steal election for him? If it gets very close and very, very tight, the pressure on somebody like that becomes a lot more clear. But I'm not sure Trump's doing enough to put the pressure on him, frankly.
Right. So basically what has happened in Georgia is that Republicans have been stacking the election board. And then over the past few weeks, they've passed a lot of rules. This is how ProPublica talks about it here. The members of the Georgia State Election Board could not have been clearer. Back in May, 4 of them voted down a proposed rule that would have given county election boards a new way to delay or reject election results, which could throw the November vote count into chaos. You run counter to both the federal and state law, said Ed Lindsay, a Republican board member and attorney who practices election law, to the woman who proposed the rule. This rule violates federal law. It also violates state law, said Sarah Tyndall Ghazal, the board's lone Democrat. It's just not ready for prime time yet, said the board chairman, noting that it needed more work to ensure its legality. Even the lone board member supporting the rule, Janice Johnston, a retired obstetrician who had made unvalidated claims about falsified vote tallies in Fulton County, voted against it. The 5th board member did not vote. The board agreed that 2 members would work on improvements to the rule. 3 months later, a new draft of the rule came back for a vote. This time, it passed 3-2. How much did the rule change between drafts? A new review by ProPublica shows hardly at all. In fact, election law experts told ProPublica that the small changes made the rule even less compliant with existing law. The rule dramatically expands the authority of county officials overseeing the usually mundane task of certifying elections. The passage of it was enabled by nationally prominent election deniers and the Georgia legislature. And the board members who passed it were cheered on by former President Donald Trump. It comes at a time when Trump and his allies are already calling into question the fairness of the elections process and making preparations to contest the results, and as Trump slips behind Vice President Kamala Harris in swing state polls. So here's just a few more details on this change.
Yeah, just one quick note. I do think people need to look back at, and On the Media had a good coverage of the 2000 election. This is not hypothetical in this country. This is how elections are stolen. They've been stolen in this country. And this is how they would be stolen in the future if they're not stolen this time. Yeah.
Yeah. And even if Trump does not win, right?
This will be tried again.
It's the blueprint.
Yeah.
So basically, Raffensperger was not, after 2021, was removed as designated chair of the state election board. Instead, they gave themselves the power to appoint the chair unless they were out of session, in which case the governor could do it, though they could replace the chair once they were back in session. Another of the changes came this past May, after Lindsay, the Republican board member who had called the rule illegal, was pressured to resign. The Republican Speaker of the House replaced him with Janelle King, the former deputy state director of the Georgia Republican Party and a conservative media personality who has no experience in election administration and who had tweeted, "I have questions," about the results of the 2020 election.
And she just loves the Constitution.
She just loves it all up. Janelle! With King, the board became stacked with a majority of members who had questioned the results of the 2020 election. In early August, Trump praised all three by naming them. He named them, praised all three by name during an Atlanta rally, calling them pit bulls fighting for honesty, transparency, and victory. Meanwhile, the proponents of the rule, including Bridget Thorne, a Republican Fulton County commissioner who calls herself the rule's originator, decided to resubmit it. Thorne told ProPublica that claims of the rules of illegality were an attempt to scare her. "I went and talked to lawmakers," she said, "and they didn't see anything wrong with the rules." Thorne said she got advice and support on the revised rule from Hans von Spakovsky, a Heritage Foundation lawyer who led efforts for stricter voting laws nationwide for decades. Ken Cucciolini, a former Virginia Attorney General and the chairman of the Election Transportation Initiative, a group advocating for Republican priorities. Transparency Initiative, a group advocating for Republican priorities in election law. So basically, she consulted with a bunch of Republican.
And just to give a little context on Ken Cuccinelli, he was also one of the former DHS leaders that was found to have not been rightfully appointed. He's a big-time fascist and has run for many offices in Virginia. And Cleta Mitchell, the head of the Election Integrity Network, she used to be a partner at Jones Day at a law firm, which was representing Trump in a number of these cases to try and overturn the election. Interesting.
Did you say Janelle King, was it?
Yes.
Yes.
She's married, Black Republican, married to another Black Republican, Kelvin King, who lost to, I believe, Herschel Walker in the primary. So it's a nice little political family they got going on down there.
So these are the efforts that Republicans are trying to pursue ahead of the election. This is just something to really keep in mind. Arizona, we already probably have an indication based on the rules that they've passed that we won't get the results for like days because of their kind of Byzantine process that they've implemented to prevent the voter fraud that never happened. And, you know, look, I'm okay with recounting, right? But not as some sort of like matter of rule. It's more just like if it is within a certain threshold of like statistical probability that there could be some errors, right? Like recounts, I think, are good, but not a recount by default that's also put in the hands of Republican operatives.
Well, no, but it's not just that they count them so thoroughly. It's that they say, oh, we need to really recount this, but then actually a deadline comes and we need to make a decision, like happened in 2000.
Right.
And so
or
it's
like,
all of a sudden an unelected body making the decision on it.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah, like the hanging Chad stuff. I mean, what irregularities can we find in these ballots, etc. So something to really keep in mind.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.